Autumn Nations Cup, the second game of the weekend, following England and Ireland sees Wales take on Georgia. Both of these sides who could probably use a bit of a step up from last week, especially Wales, who will have certainly a lot more pressure on them than the Georgians, especially Wayne Pivac. He's a man in the hot seat, so he could certainly use a bit of a good shift from his boys. I'll go through the teams, the recent history, which there's only 2 games, and the predictions for this one, and you guys can let me know how you reckon it is going to play out. It is 5:15 from Parky Scarlets, which makes it 6:15 in the morning over here in New Zealand. It's a Sunday in New Zealand, Saturday in the UK. So, yeah, decent time to watch a game, to be fair. Neither of these teams got a win yet. Neither of them's got a point. Wales, bit of a disappointing loss to Ireland last week, and Georgia didn't score any points against England, 40 points to nil, in pretty bad conditions. So, any points I think would be welcome for both sides, but realistically, I mean, maybe it's a chance for the Georgians to try and catch a Welsh team at a low point and having made a bunch of changes, but realistically, you never know because sports are funny, but it should be a chance for Wales to try and get their season back on track, but we will see. I think it's like 13 changes for Wales' team, and they said, I think before the Ireland game, that they were going to make changes for the Georgia game. That was always going to be the case. So it's not like he's swinging the axe to cut a bunch of the experienced guys. It's just giving some different guys a run. Liam Williams is one of the guys who continues on. He moves to fullback from the wing. And Justin Tipuric is the other guy. He continues on in the number 7 jersey. Those are the only 2 guys who started last week who start this week. Justin Tipuric as captain, because Ioan Jones is not in the 23. He's being arrested. McNicholl is on one wing, which is good news. And Rees-Zammit is on the other wing. So that's a hell of an exciting wing combination. More of that, please. Let's see how these guys go. Nick Tompkins comes back into the side, and Johnny Williams will get his debut at number 12. I don't think I've seen much of him play, to be honest. I'm familiar with Nick Tompkins now. He's been maybe one of the guys putting his hands up for the future of that Welsh midfield since Hadley Parks has departed and Jonathan Davies ain't getting any younger. So, yeah, and Johnny Williams, we'll see how he goes because, again, do give me some insights into him. I do not know a lot about him. Callum Sheedy steps up from the bench to start at number 10, and people have been calling for that because Bigger's not been in his best form either. So, yeah, Bigger's not even in the 23 this week. And Kieran Hardy is another one that I'm not all that familiar with. He is at number 9, and he is also on his debut. So that'll probably be why I haven't seen a lot of him because I don't get a lot of time to watch the Pro 14, if I am brutally honest. Would like to. Sometimes I get a chance, but I don't think I've seen those guys play. Wyn Jones steps up from the bench, likewise Elliot D and Samson Lee. So the bench becomes the starting team for the front row. Jake Ball and Seb Davis come in from outside the 23 to make up the locks. James Botham's another guy on debut. Again, please tell me about him. He's got a famous surname, that's for sure, if you're thinking cricket. Apparently he's a pretty solid player. And Aaron Wainwright jumps into the number 8 jersey. So a bit of a shift around indeed. Likewise, the bench, Sam Parry, Nicky Smith, Leon Brown all come in. Likewise, Cory Hill, James Davis. All new to the squad after last week. Rhys, Webb, Ioan, Lloyd, and Jonah Holmes as well. So it's a whole shift, pretty much the entire side. I think there's only a couple that are injury enforced, and that's Jonathan Davis and Falatau. And I think Reese Patchell's had a bit of a head knock. So none of those guys, I think, were considered. But, man, that's a heck of a lot of changes. You're missing the likes of Ioan Jones, Dan Bigger, like I mentioned, Watkin, Halfpenny, Adams, Carey, Elias, Francis, the list goes on. Lewis Hughes, massive, massive change. Hopefully these guys have been training well because they certainly haven't had any game time together. Such a big change. But anyway, Georgians, on the other hand, have named a relatively stable lineup. They have made a few changes. Nariashvili and Gigashvili are still the props, kind of the mainstays of that Georgian front row. Kveseladze steps up from the bench, so he's an experienced hand as well. We all know him from Super Rugby playing with the Sunwolves. And Kodikoshvili is one of the locks. He maintains a spot from last week, but experienced hand. Mikutadze, he comes in. He's a big unit. So he's a good guy to have back in the locks. I think he was injured last week. Sharikadze is up from the bench at number 6. Sharikadze moves from 6 to 7, and Giorgi continues on at number 8. So, yeah, kind of a few changes, mostly from the bench positional, like not wholesale changes from the Georgians. For the backs, Tabutsadze gets a start after being on the bench last week. Kveseladze continues on at 10, so kind of steady as she goes. Sharikadze still captain at 12. Kveseladze is still there at 13, so the midfield is the same combo from last week. Todua steps on for the bench. He's an experienced hand to be number 11. Tabutsadze is on the right wing, and Khmaladze is at 15. Yes, the Georgians have kept things relatively steady. There are a few more changes on the bench. Chikoidze, who I don't know if I've seen play, is the reserve hooker. The props are still the same. The lock that was Ioan, he is down from the bench down to the bench from the starting team. Likewise, Chikashvili, Prasidze, and then they've got 2 back replacements, Ioan, Khmaladze, and McNicholl. I don't know enough about the Georgians. I did get a good email from Ed recently giving me a bit of history and insights into the Georgian team, so hopefully some of that will start to sink its way into my brain, because I either need to watch more Pro 14 or watch more Georgian rugby. What can I say? I know for Mikutadze, the dude's 130 kilos and 2 meters tall, so he is a big unit to be bringing back. It's good to see that there's a pretty stable lineup for the Georgians, especially when you look at their recent history, because they've only played 2 games. And the comment that someone put in one of my videos a while back, when England had only played Georgia twice, it's kind of planted a seed in my mind now, because that person said, man, that's interesting that England have only played Georgia twice, when we think about often how like the Australia and New Zealand don't play the likes of Fiji, Samoa and Tonga enough. And then Wales has only played Georgia twice before as well. So Georgia is also another one that seems to be a little bit shunned by some of their Tier 1 neighbours. Just seems to be a thing. But yeah, they've only played each other twice. Once was at the World Cup last year, which is pretty helpful, but that was 43 points to 14. That was a heck of a high-scoring game. I think the Welsh wingers ended up running riot. Like, they both got a heap of run meters and both got tries. That was North and Adams. So, yeah, big time difference from both these sides last week, who absolutely struggled. They struggled big time with ball in hand. I think I wrote it down. Wales attack last week. Halfpenny managed 69 run meters. Now, he's the fullback, so he gets quite a few of those for free. The next best were North had 16, Falatau had 16, and Bigger had 9. That's criminally low. Compare that to that 43-14 result against Georgia. I know it's a different team against Georgia, Ireland, but still, that's really, really, really poor. Even the Georgian midfielders got 20-plus run meters against England, to put that into context. And the Georgian Lucies had like 30-plus run meters. So you had Halfpenny with 69, and then everyone else below 20. So, yeah, a bit concerning, but whole bunch of different players. Now, for the teams that played in 2019 in that 43-14 game, there's still the same props, lock, Lucy's, a few of them, the 19 combo for Georgia. All those guys started in that game against Wales. So a few of them were in that game. For Wales, it was only Wyn Jones, Jake Ball, Aaron Wainwright, and Tipuric that started. So the whole Welsh team being changed for this game means that most of these guys probably haven't played Georgia before. I think also Elliot was on the bench for that game. So a few of those guys will remember beating Georgia pretty comfortably back in the World Cup. But not the majority of the squad. So, yeah, they've played twice. 2017 was 13-6 to Wales, which was actually pretty close. And then the more recent one was that bit of a hiding at the World Cup. So, yeah. Can Georgia get the result done? It's probably pretty unlikely. Their Lucies are pretty good, man. Their Lucies made 14, 12, and 12 tackles between the three of them. So one made 14, 2 of them made 12. So they're pretty hard tackling Lucies, and I mentioned they both got in the 30s for run meters, 2 of them. So, yeah, the Georgian loose forwards, Maybe even more so than their type forwards, which is traditionally the front row is traditionally is what you think of with Georgian rugby. But those loosies are really, really good. Some good go forward. So we'll see what they can do against Wales's pack. It's a pretty dynamic looking Welsh team, you'd have to say. Like, I am excited about seeing Rees-Zammit, McNicholl, Tompkins, because all those guys are kind of game-breaking players. Wainwright's a pretty dynamic looking 8. I mean, I don't know that I've usually seen him play 8, but I guess he's pretty versatile. Botham I haven't seen much, if at all. Williams and Hardy the same, so keen to see them go as well. But yeah, Wales are predicted by the bookies to win by 24, and Rugby Forecast algorithm Wales by 23. So the ball is in Wales's court. Nobody is expecting much from Georgia. If Georgia can get within, I don't know, 10 points of them, you would almost say it's a moral victory to the Georgians. I think some of these Welsh guys, being seemingly the second string guys and a lot of the younger guys, will be looking to absolutely put their hands up and maybe replace some of the first team guys who have been underperforming of late. But yeah, Pivac needs a win. We'll see if he gets it and by how much. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on this one. How do you reckon it's going to go? Comfortable win for Wales. Maybe a bit of a tight one. Huge upset for Georgia maybe. You guys let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.